friends, and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hance. Each week, I visit with a fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week, I'm visiting with Claire Robin of Nun Slut. Convent, clown, communion. Nun Slut is an absurd journey through religion, the body, and Barnaby Joyce. A delightful, silly mashup of clown, sketch, and cabaret. Join fearless performer Claire Robin for an evening of critically acclaimed chaos. Nun? Slut? It's a spectrum. We're all on it.
I feel like part of my artist journey and becoming unblocked, in a way, a big part of that was kind of discovering and learning about and exploring the connection between spirituality and creativity, and books like The Artist's Way and Big Magic and that sort of thing really helped me to conceptualize that creativity was something spiritual, something I would say God is creative and we're all creative. And in one of those books it talks about listening for the thing that wants to be written, and our job is to kind of be like a vessel for ideas.
Claire Robin is a Sydney-based comedian and actor. Her debut solo show, Nun Slut, has received a remarkable reception, winning awards and sold-out shows across Australia, including Best Comedy at Sydney Fringe and Newcastle Fringe, Best Comedy Weekly Award at Adelaide Fringe, and the Hollywood Fringe Touring Award. Claire has a background in acting and theater making. She trained at Actors Centre Australia and completed an honours degree in theater from the University of New England, where she wrote and directed an immersive outdoor production, Homesick, in collaboration with the local community of Armandale. She trained at Improv Theatre Sydney, where she moved into the comedy space through improv and stand-up. She's about to embark on her first international tour, taking Nun Slut to Hollywood, Vancouver, and Edinburgh. Claire, welcome to What the Fringe.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey, I'm so excited to have you on. We met at Adelaide Fringe this year. I came to see Nun Slut. We're going to talk a bit about that in a minute. I was sticking around and there were some other clowns that were some clowns, all the clowns, they hang out together. And they were like, do you guys want to hang out? Yes. And so we went and hung out a little bit, had dinner or something, and just really connected. And we'll talk about that in a minute, why we connected. And I was like super excited to have you on because you're coming to Hollywood. And I was like, let's introduce you to Americans and all that good stuff. So I'm happy to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah. So let's just start out with talking a little bit about your journey as an artist. So as we read in your bio, you kind of started out like a lot of theater kids studying theater, but then you got into improv and stand-up and comedy. So what took you from kind of like the traditional theater model into the comedy arena?
I guess during acting school and after that, I always knew that I resonated more with comedic roles. Like that's where I really came alive and had kind of like the most effect on the audience, I think. And so after acting school, after a couple of years, I decided to just try a few open mics and really wanted to do like sketch comedy and just did a smattering of experimenting. And I bought this like little kids kind of janky little keyboard and taught myself some little kind of ditties that I would then write songs to and try them out. I just remember one night in an open mic in Sydney and I got up and someone yelled out, "Not another girl." And then so I got up there and said, "Not another dumb bogan," which is an Australian term. The connotation is uneducated or ochre, like Australian, kind of like, oh, yeah, mate, kind of person. Look, it's a bit classist, let's be honest, but it was appropriate. Like, it got a good reaction.
That's great. There's like a couple of terms in the US. We would either call you a dumbass, or if you're in the South, you might be called a redneck.
Yeah, I think redneck's probably the right kind.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great comeback. And what did he do?
Look, I couldn't see him. But I definitely had the audience on side, like from that moment. And so in some ways, it was maybe a gift.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In that moment, you were like, one, you can't say anything. You can't heckle me. You're not allowed to heckle me because I am in control of this situation. If you do, this is what you're going to get. Like with all of that, you said all of that and the audience knew. They were like, all right, let's go, girl.
Totally.
So you went to that open mic, he said that, and you had the little keyboard thing. How did the rest of your set go? How did the rest of your little journey go with stand-up?
It went, like, that set went great. I sang this song about buying tickets at the train station. But then I kind of had a bit of a weird time in life and kind of stopped doing comedy, I guess. I wanted to, but I just didn't know how, and I didn't know what that meant. And I had a few weird personal things happen, and then I booked a one-way ticket overseas and went on like a solo traveling adventure on my own for like 9 months. Always have had the longing to be a performer and sort of knew deep down that I was one, but just kind of struggled with what that looked like, what next steps to take, feeling very blocked. And that went on for like quite a few years, really. But yeah, I came back to Australia and did that theatre degree, like the university degree and honours, whereas more in like a directing, theatre making kind of role. And after that is when I got into improv.
Did you like see a class, or like how did you get into improv?
I done it like it was part of acting training. So I'd done bits and bobs. Like, so it wasn't like, what is this thing called improv? And it was sort of one of the only things that sounded really fun, lighthearted, and something you could sort of go to every week. And like the way that those schools are structured, you know, there's like levels and you can move up. So it's like a way to just be active in your like performing self. Just started doing that a little more like regularly, like I did courses and yeah.
Yeah. Improv came into my life in a time when I was teaching, and I went through a training series, and then every week it was like, I get to go do something for me. I don't have to be in charge. I don't have to do, you know, like I was teaching theater, which was a lot, and you're shaping little minds or whatever, but you're focused on the other people. And so I got to go and play, and it was the best.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like that space to play and like be ridiculous and figure out what makes you funny and like what makes a good scene. And I think you learn a lot about writing and crafting scenes or sequences or whatever you want to call them, and a few like kind of comedy rules or guidelines of how to structure things to make them funny. And yeah, it was really good.
Well, and then the clown scene, is that quite large in Sydney, or how did you get into that?
No, it's not large in Sydney at all. Like there aren't many clowns at all. Like sometimes I feel like one of the only ones. They're more in Melbourne. There are a couple of things going on, like a monthly meetup or like someone running a monthly workshop, but there's not many people who are like on the festival circuit or like making full shows based in Sydney. I didn't decide I'm going to do clowning now. I didn't pursue that. It was more that when I decided to create a full-length solo show, it became that. It kind of became a clowning thing where I realized that's what I was doing with some outside help, like someone kind of pointing out, like, you're kind of a clown, and like helping me to like lean into that side of it. But yeah, I've only done like a smattering of clown workshops in my time. So I haven't done like full clown training.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a fun show, and it's very clown, and you just hold the space really well, and it's really fun. Well, let's go ahead and talk about your show, and then we'll whip back around and talk about some other things just because we're already on it. What made you want to actually write a solo show? You were like, this is the way to go.
I think I'd always envisioned doing like, I guess I would have thought of it as a one-woman show, you know, like at acting school, or like after that, like I sort of felt like I had it in me to do a full show, and I'd been doing improv for quite a while, and I'd actually started getting a bit frustrated with performing in like a big group of people and feeling like, you know, it's really valuable, but just, I guess just being like, I want more stage time. I really want to like the opportunity to like just really build something from me. And I did like a couple of things with like one other improviser, and I found it so much more satisfying, just two of us. I was in one of those house teams, rolled around again. I was like, will I do it again? I guess so. And then I auditioned and didn't get in that time. Obviously it was like, oh, ouchies a little bit, but also like, well, time to do the solo show. Like, I think that helped push me into just being like, well, I'm not going to not do anything at the moment, like performing wise. It's time to just do the full show. And I had done one open mic where a song came out with this term in it, Nun Slut. Like, I wrote this song in an afternoon and it had these ideas in it. It had the term Nun Slut in it, and I just did it at this, room with like 5 people, and everyone loved this term Nun Slut. And I just felt like there's something here, and that's what I'm going to call my show, because I know that that is a really catchy title. That's like the theme. And I'd been writing stand-up and like bits around this idea, like, religion and sex and the body and stuff. And I thought I'd start off by like collating things that I had already written, as just like a starting point for making this thing.
Yeah. I mean, you are so right. And your show has secret sauce. And what is that secret sauce? We never know until it happens. But you've got a great title. You've got a great hero image. And you have a really good description that's intriguing. But even number one on top of that, you made a good show. Like, I'm always like, number one, make a good show, right? Always make a good show. But then that other stuff, it all works together to then make it explode, right?
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I don't feel like I can fully take credit for it, because not to be like super spiritual about it, but kind of, it was just like this thing just kind of right for me. And I was like, okay. Okay,
so this is what connected us, is that I found out that you were a person of faith. And I don't talk about this very often, but I'm a person of faith. And my show, I don't like to talk too much about it on the podcast, but it's called Holio. And it is the exploration of the connection between body, spirituality, and sexuality. And so I saw the title of your show and I was like, I don't know. And then I read the description. And when I read Nun Slut, it's a spectrum, we're all on it. And like taking an absurd journey through religion, the body, and Barnaby Joyce, who I don't know who that is, but from seeing the show, I now have context clues. And I was like, I'm going to go see this show. And I sat down and this girl sat next to me. She goes, "You ready to see something sacrilegious?" And I was like, I don't know. And it was like the most beautiful, tasteful, funny show. And I was like, this show is fabulous. And I was like, does she have some kind of church background or something? And then I found out that you did. And I was just really excited because I think you address the topics, everything that you're looking at, with critiquing eye, but also kindness and love. Like, nobody ever feels uncomfortable. And I think some people that are pearl clutchers is what we call them here in the South. It's like, you show a little ankle and they're clutching their pearls. Yeah. So talk to me about wanting to write a piece that kind of comes from your faith background and what you believe.
I guess thanks for saying that, because I love when people come to the show expecting that I'm going to be just like completely decimating religion, and then it's not that at all. But it's also not too far the other way. So it's what I'm trying to do is explore these different facets of religion and the messiness of that, the messiness of being human and like sexual, and trying to suggest that maybe all these things can coexist together, and it doesn't have to mean like a full rejection or a full adoption of anything. So yeah, I really love it when people kind of walk away pleasantly surprised in that way, because it's not just like a fuck religion show or like, nun porn or something.
You're exactly right, because it isn't. It's not a bash on religion, which I think some people are expecting, but it's so funny. And I just have to say my favorite part, which I know people talk about the youth pastor, and I'm getting so off task. This is my ADHD in like full display right now. But you do this thing with Jesus. It's a picture of Jesus. And I remember you brought it out and I was like, here it comes. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because people need to experience it. It's just funny. And like, as a person of faith, and I'm like, it's not disrespectful. I was sitting there and I felt like Jesus was like, ha ha ha. Like, he was laughing along. He's like, that is kind of funny, because like, I feel like God has a sense of humor and it's funny. But we'll get back to the question of also continuing to put your faith into it? Like you said, you felt like this show was kind of given to you. Talk to me a little bit more about that. Did faith play a part in that, or, you know, that kind of situation?
Not specifically, I don't think. I mean, I feel like part of my artist journey and becoming unblocked in a way, a big part of that was kind of discovering and learning about and exploring the connection between spirituality and creativity, and books like The Artist's Way and Big Magic and that sort of thing really helped me to conceptualize that creativity was something spiritual, something I would say God is creative and we're all creative. And in one of those books, it talks about listening for the thing that wants to be written. And our job is to kind of be like a vessel for ideas. And yeah, also like just, you know, going on meditation retreats and exploring like contemplative practices helped me in that. And yeah, I guess I've just had that experience a number of times, and like particularly around that period of like starting to think about making a show, like of just kind of receiving something, like listening, like becoming quiet and something sort of arriving. Like I was at a meditation retreat in France a few years ago, and normally there is some kind of deadline involved. Like, for example, I said I'd perform in this thing tonight. What am I going to do? There is some pressure, but yeah, I remember like just going for a walk and in the like nature surrounding this retreat center and just being like, okay, here's this song. And like this song just kind of started coming out, I guess, like appearing, and I kind of put it together, and it was like something really ridiculous where I was actually just paying the shit out of this retreat we'd all just been on, and like the people in charge, and it's normally like things of that kind of nature, and performed it that night and everyone loved it. And that sort of experience, it's not always like that writing, like sometimes it is a bit more like mathematical or like just trying to like figure it out, but there's definitely these things that kind of like come to me or like through me in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's all a process, right? The artistic like creation process. It's going to be different for every show, and it's different for every person. And as a person of faith, a spiritual person, I believe there's this like connection between me and the creator of like that we're creating together, you know, like that and out in nature or when I'm sitting at my keyboard or whatever, what have you. Yeah. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think that stuff also kind of like works or sort of lines up when there's kind of a positive intention behind it. Like if I'm in my kind of stressed out way of thinking like, oh, I've got to create something like really impressive and really good, and like that kind of like mind frame, I don't think things work in that way. But it is kind of, you know, at my core, I guess, of course, like we all want success and all of that stuff, but I guess the other kind of like objectives behind it are to bring joy to people, to create, and through like my theatre making kind of stuff as well, I love like creating an atmosphere that people walk into, like creating an experience that people come into, and like how is that space set up? How is that vibe created for people to feel like comfortable but also surprised, but also in a space to be like taken on a journey. And with this show, you know, like I really do want to like make people think as well. Like it's mostly like a really silly, joyful show, but I love it when people also, they pick up on things or they want to engage with some deeper concepts that are within it, or like they're kind of reading into it a bit more. So when I'm more in that mind frame of like, what do I actually want to give people? That's when the things flow more, rather than they're like, oh, I hope I'm good at this, and like wanting to be impressive and all that stuff. That is not as conducive to creating.
Yeah, I think there's so many things I want to respond to what you just said. I think theater, when it's at its best, or as a performer, if you think of giving yourself as a gift to the audience, not as like I'm giving of myself, and I hope that I've created this space for something for you to have a really great experience. Sometimes when I say that out loud, I'm like, oh, does that sound like, I don't know, self-indulgent? But it's not, come look at me. It's like, I'm here for you. And when you can kind of take that mindset as a performer, I think it really creates something beautiful, especially if you're doing a solo show. That's a whole nother thing. And then creating a space. And I think all of those kind of connect back to faith of any place, right? Like you walk into a house of faith, no matter what religion it is. And it's this creating this space for you to experience something. And then theater is the same way. We're creating this space for people to experience something together, real, in person. It's not a movie screen. I'm not sitting on my couch watching Netflix. Like I am in this space watching a live human with other humans. We're experiencing it all together. There's something really beautiful and connective about that. So you're doing the like work of a theater artist and of a person like with spirituality. You're like doing the same thing in that space. And that is a kind of cool combination.
Yeah, I think so. And it's easy to forget. And I often am in just that freak out zone of like, I hope they like me. As much as things go better when I'm not thinking that way, like it's just what happens and you're stressed and you want it too well.
Absolutely. I think that that's fair. It's part of being a performer and being human. That's part of the process. And I get that too. Like I'm constantly like, I want to give to my audience and create this space, but I'm like, I don't have any tickets sold, or I have like 3 tickets sold. And for this show to work, I need like 10. I need, and are they liking it? Are they laughing? What are they doing? That's part of the business. That's part of what we do. So and how you deal with it is good. So what have been some of the things that have surprised you the most about how people have responded to this show?
I guess I get like a range of responses. Like sometimes people and like some reviews and stuff have just been like, this is a sacrilegious show. And which, they're not wrong. Like it's still pretty outrageous and some people are really offended by it. And that's okay. Like I've had to just make peace with that's how some people are going to receive it. I guess like during the show, you've seen it, like there's a lot of audience interaction and so like different things can happen each time. So I enjoy never quite knowing how people are going to respond to different like playful bits. Sometimes people do like inappropriate stuff because they're sort of invited in a way to brush me with a brush or like different things. And I think sometimes people in that experience, like the lines are pretty blurred. So I'm prepared for that.
Was that something that like you knew as a performer that could go a lot of ways and you had a lot of ways to get out of it? Or did you have to learn that as you experimented with the show?
Yeah, I guess I've learned it over time. I'm still kind of like pleasantly surprised that more stuff hasn't happened. Like, I mean, I've had a few moments of people, some things that were not great of like someone sort of groping me or like that kind of thing. But I'm quite good at sort of like nipping it in the bud. But yeah, also, I mean, it's kind of been cool to like, there's a part where I like invite people to ask me questions. And sometimes those questions are like really outrageous or like really offensive. I've learned like what works as a response. Like it's been a good like lesson in like how to deal with sort of sensing from the audience what, oh crap, like everyone's uncomfortable now that person has said that thing. And like, what can I do to kind of offset it? And usually it's something very frank, basically calling it out, but in like a cheeky way that sets people at ease again. So it's been good to like learn how to do that.
Well, it like literally circles back to that guy going, oh, not another girl. It was like you've already been doing that with your stand-up. Like you have that skill set to bring it back around and be in control.
That's true. Yeah. I guess improv has helped a lot with that as well. Because I guess in improv, like it's a similar thing. Sometimes you're improvising and sometimes you say something like, I'm like, oh God, I can't say that. What did I just do? And so you learn how to like mitigate each other's things like that, or what to do to kind of like level it back out or make the audience comfortable again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your show could go downhill really quick if you didn't balance that out. You would have a show with people just sitting there like, what's happening? You just have to give them confidence that you're in control and it's okay.
Often I'll have like slightly rowdy crowds, like drunk crowds. I'm usually programmed on late and like I've had some interesting like moments there, or like one guy who just tried to like heckle through the show and his wife, I think he was with his wife, and like she just moved. It wasn't a very full show, and like throughout the show she just moved, like kept incrementally like one more seat away from him. I think she was really embarrassed. And then he got up at one point as a volunteer and like took his pants off. He thought he was being funny. This is the thing, people, they think they're being funny, and usually it's really not funny. So it was just like, what is this person doing?
Like, did your nun, how did she respond?
I can't even remember what I did. I think I was just like, put your pants back on.
Like a mom, you're like, come on. That's really, really funny. Let's talk a little bit about Sydney Fringe. We'll switch gears real quick because that's your hometown Fringe. And were you doing shows with the Fringe before you did Nun Slut, or was this your first foray into Fringe?
This was the first foray. I had booked something in, I think, 2021. And then the whole thing was cancelled because of COVID. And that was like a double bill show with a friend. Yeah, so I'd never done a Fringe show.
You are a unicorn, my love. You have such a brilliant show. And to have so much success with your first show and kind of your first like introduction into Fringe, that's a unicorn moment. And like, kudos. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Sydney Fringe, it's a long Fringe. It's like 9 weeks long. It happens all across town. Had you been like a patron of the Fringe, or like what did you know about it before you got involved?
I had seen some shows, I guess, as well, being part of the improv community for a couple of years. You know, you'd see people do things. Technically, I had performed in the Fringe before in like an improv show or like as a guest performer in something, you know. So yeah, I'd seen Fringe shows. I'd been to stuff and always had that feeling of like, I could do this. I want to do this.
What do you feel like Fringe gives you as opposed to waiting, you know, around for someone to cast you, or kind of like the traditional theater route?
It just gives you an opportunity to actually do something where you're in control. You get to write, you get to make the whole thing. I've always loved that about comedy, like, because you're not waiting to be cast in something. You don't have to fit in with someone else's vision. You get to write it in a way that like suits you. You get to write it for you to perform. The Fringe space, I guess it gives you like a platform to create something. All the ticketing stuff, all that stuff's like managed by someone else. You're part of a program. So you're not just like winging it on your own, trying to get people to come. And it feels low stakes, because there's so many other people doing shows. And so, yeah, I feel like it's low risk as well, because if you do something that didn't go well, like no one really has to know. And then if it does go well, it's a win, or like people can come who can like help you out, you know?
Yeah. So for your show, are you, what kinds of tweaking are you doing as you're continuing to go to different festivals? You're getting feedback from audience. How is it changing?
Yeah, it's evolving, I guess. Unpredictable things can happen each night, and I feel like I'm becoming more open with like different parts of the show to it going differently. And sometimes things will happen and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I'm going to do this every night. Like if it's something that I can control, or a way of setting up a bit where someone else is involved that like encourages or like steers them in a certain direction, it can evolve that way. Also, like, because I have a musician on stage with me, and usually sometimes people can kind of tour with me, but usually I'm finding someone in the location that I'm going to play with me, and they will often bring maybe like an idea, and I'm open to ideas from them. For a while, maybe I should do it again soon, before like a new run of the show, a few times I got together like some comedy friends, some writing friends to come, and I would do almost like an open rehearsal with them and just invite them to like interject with ideas. Or I would say, if there was a bit where I felt like it wasn't working or it could be better, I would say, I need something here. Like, what could I do? Or even I've done that sometimes with tech people. If they seem like a really collaborative person and like interested in the show, I might be like, hey, while we're doing tech, if you have any ideas, like just trying to like be open to people's thoughts, because yeah, I think in a way shows, definitely my show, it's a collection of other people's ideas in the end.
That's really cool. Very collaborative. I love that you're bringing other people into your process, because I feel like a solo show is never solitary. And it feels like your improv, a lot of performers are not the people that are like, what does my venue tech think about this? And I love that. And it feels like a very improv thing to go, what yes and would you like to add to this show? It's very cool.
Yeah. I mean, for a few shows in Adelaide last year, I got the venue tech who was awesome with ideas. I was like, hey, each night, could you just put a random different prop on the props table that is on the stage? And I will try to just use it through the show at some point. And so one night, like, there was like a stapler on there. I can't remember what else. And I would just at least have to address it through the show, like pick it up or do something with it. I was worried about the show becoming stale and I didn't want to get sick of it.
That is a great way, because if you're surprised, now as a clown, right, you're like, okay, how do I work with this object? Is it going to flop? Is it going to, and if it does flop, how do I recover and be in the moment and make it work? That's really fun. For some people, that scares like the pants off of them. I think most fringe artists, maybe not, but for like improvisers and stuff, we're like, ooh, okay, well, I could talk to you for a really long time, but we've got to wrap up. So I'm going to ask you my famous last question. And we've already delved into one of your weird, awkward moments, but I'm sure you have a bunch. What has been your most interesting, awkward, or you could say heartwarming interaction that you've had at Fringe? Just a good old story. Maybe people with their pants on, pants off, whatever you want to share. At
Adelaide Fringe, I was flyering in my costume and I had a couple of people come up to me and sort of be like, oh, you're a nun, like, what is this? And I was like, it's a comedy show, like, come along. And then I could see they had like crosses around their neck. I was like, oh, you guys Christian? And they were like, yeah, like we live in the Adelaide Hills. And like they were a bit elusive about like where they were from. And I was like, well, you should come along. Like it's, you might, like, it's pretty out there. Like, it's called Nun Slut. You might, yeah. But if you're, like, feeling open-minded, like, it's not a religion bashing show, and, like, just come and see. And they did come, and they sat in the front row, and they were, like, really drunk. And they'd had said, as part of that initial conversation, they'd said, like, yeah, we're just in Adelaide, like, looking for Jesus. We're just looking for Jesus, like, around and, like, talking to people and, like trying to like find him, and like we're not really finding him, and like maybe he's like at your show kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I reckon so. And so they came, and then they were kind of like in the front row, like a bit tipsy. And then at one point I make a joke about, like, I do like a fake Bible verse, like I say something outrageous and then I'm like Matthew 3:14, and then they got out Bibles. They weren't trying to like heckle, they were just like earnestly like looking it up. And I was like, I sort of said to everyone, I was like, they're fact checking me. I was like, it's not in there. It was a joke. And then the guy got up for that bit, like the Jesus face bit, and was like dancing and like being really outrageous. Yeah. And then at the end they were like, this is it, like, God bless you kind of thing. I was like, all right. I think they lived in a cult. Apparently there are some cults in that area. And I was like, I reckon they're from a cult. Like also just their relationship with each other. I was like, they're not siblings. I don't think they're together. I reckon they are like cult siblings or something. They're like looking for Jesus,
Fascinating and very ambiguous about where they live. And I love that so much. They're whipping out, like they weren't even, it wasn't on their phones. They were like whipping out the book they had in their purse, their fanny pack or whatever. Yeah.
Just carrying it around Adelaide on their search for Jesus.
You gotta love them. You gotta love them. Oh man. All right. Well, Claire, thank you so much for joining me today on What the Fringe. It's been an absolute delight to have you on.
Thanks, Lauren. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Nun Slut is playing at the Hollywood Fringe this June 21 through 27, in Vancouver on July 10th, and at Edinburgh Fringe this August. Keep up with Claire on Instagram at clairerobin.nunslut. I'll link that in the show notes below. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hance. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renowned Media, and those sweet tunes you hear are provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound. And our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release. Keep up with What the Fringe on Instagram at whatthefringe_productions and find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. You know how like at some venues, a representative from the space has to get up and say something and they're up there and they're like doing a bit, like a long bit, and you're like, hey dude, time's ticking, I got 60 minutes to get in and out. But you know in the back of their mind, all they're thinking is,
I guess just being like, I want more stage time.